Nationwide strike enters day 2 with partial compliance. CBN extends old Naira note as legal tender indefinitely. And fire races apartment building in Zaria. On the foreign scene, China's Xi Jinping arrives U.S. ahead of summit with Joe Biden. Hello and welcome to the news update on Trust TV. My name is Chiamaka Enendu. Casino residents are expressing dissatisfaction with the ongoing industrial action by members of the organized labor as they highlight the impact of the action on the lives of average households. A cross-section of residents speaking to Trust TV News say that there is a need to solve all disputes with government without subjecting Nigerians to extreme hardship. Abdullahi Yamadi now reports.
Though the strike has recorded almost 90% compliance with almost all public institutions closed, some residents are groaning over what they described as avoidable strike by labor unions. They said the reasons advanced by NLC, TUC in embarking on the current strike is not enough to drag Nigerian people into another harsh economic predicament, believing that there are other issues more important than the ones the unions advanced. They cite as examples the persistent devaluation of the naira, soaring prices of essential commodities as issues more important than what the unions presented as reasons for embarking into the strike.
I am not in support of what NLC and TUC are doing this time around, because what police or anybody doing to this NLC leader is something personal. So if NLC leader see or realize that they do wrong to him, so he has a right to go to court to seek for his own right.
Yeah, we are working today because we have received a letter in this morning and we are expected to have a state executive council meeting, NLC state executive council meeting. So we are waiting for the resolution also as a state-owned tertiary institutions.
We want a situation whereby the two parties will come on a round table and have a discussion whereby all the grievances that have arise will be resolved amicably.
On the other side of the coin, the leadership of the organized labor in Katsina mentioned the inability of the government to settle workers, the agreed palliatives to civil servants, and the brutalization of the NLC president in Imo State as some of the reasons for the strike. Both the NLC and TUC in Katsina appreciate the support of the workers for staying at home, a situation that led to the success of the strike in the state.
As a Nigerian, number one Nigerian worker, if such brutalization can happen to him, that is to show that nobody is scared.
Government of democracy is supposed to respect the civil service, the labor unions, as well as other civil organizations, but not to, on any way or anyhow, to treat any labor leader or any person in Nigeria.
Most of the public places visited in Katsina remain under lock and key, with only few essential workers offering skeletal services. Abdullahi Yamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Imo is the epicenter of the current labor battles in the country, with developments in the state triggering the nationwide strike by the organized labor after the attack on the NLC president, Joe Alejo. And the state, which has been embroiled in labor protests for over a week, has also witnessed total compliance with the ongoing nationwide strike in the country. Trust TV's Ajibade Praise has a situation report.
Upon our visit to the Federal Secretariat, we discovered that there is high level of compliance to the order of the NLC strike. Most of the offices within these premises are under lock and key, such as this one. The rest of Nigeria is catching up with Imo State, which has become the antagonist in the battle with the labor movement. The event of November 4th have snowballed into a national dilemma. All activities within the secretariat have been grounded. No workers in their offices, as many of them abandoned their duties in obedience to the nationwide strike ordered by the national leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress. Some of them who spoke to Trust TV News condemned the act of the Imo State government. They vowed to continue with the strike as directed by the leadership of the NLC.
We have done the strike according to NLC because we see reason with them. What is happening in South Africa, we are not happy about it. We are observing it because we don't have choice not to observe it because the leadership have said the strike is, and as a member, we ought to do that. Like if you see, everywhere is dry.
The strike is not affecting the government offices alone. Private business owners are also feeling the heat as low patronage stare them in the face. Government schools are also not left out. The schools are locked and the students remain at home. Persons who had things to do at the secretariat all turned back home disappointed. No one was there to give them attention.
Because as you can see, people who want to do something with the offices, but now it's locked, so nobody can enter the offices. I just pray that one of these days the government will look into our issues and resolve it for us.
To me, it's supposed must have commenced before now. And on the side of dealing with the national policy, Mr. Ajero, it is really condemnable.
The governor, in a forum where he interacted with the Elders Council, insisted he will not bow to the pressure of the NLC.
That is not acceptable. And government will not be card. By any means, I will not submit to that. I can never let you there. Yes. And when we met at our level, we have been doing alternatives with political money.
As the battle between the Labour and Imo State government continues, the social-economic situation in the state remains bleak. The activities of the NLC has continued to bite hard in the state. Most residents are calling on the federal government as well as the state government to look into the matter with a view to provide lasting solution. Ajibade Praise, Trust TV News, Owerri.
Earlier, we had Ajibade Praise from Imo State, and he gave us an update.
Results of the attack on Joe Ajero, the president of the national president of the NLC. Well, I would say it has continued to bite harder in Imo State, as it were. For some Nigerians in this state, this is the most difficult time for them ever, because getting food, getting cash, getting transportation in some places, getting even legal NLC strike everywhere is completely shut. Everywhere is completely shut down. They no longer have access to amenities such as power supply. Power supply has been completely cut off in Imo State for over weeks now, and some days, still counting. And these are the little things that help businesses in the state. Now, also the issue of financial institutions not offering full services any longer. People no longer have access to money. People no longer have access to money they can use to at least feed themselves. It is biting hard on the life of every Imolite. They are calling on the federal government as well as the...
And also earlier we had Idris from Kanu, and he also gave us an update.
Issued by the organized labor, and of course the difficulties people are facing largely due to increasing prices of essential commodities and so on and so forth. Issued by the organized labor, and of course the difficulties people are facing largely due to increasing prices of essential commodities and so on and so forth. But at least there is 70 to 90% compliance, and of course the leadership of the organized labor are currently mobilizing public servants on the need to comply with the directive of the national body of the organized labor. Even this morning, they were on both radio and television trying to mobilize civil servants on the need to comply fully. From what we have seen, schools and other public institutions remain closed, with only hospitals and other essential workers offering skeletal services. People in Kasuma are backing the organized labor because they are paying.
We apologize for that mix-up. That was Yamadi from Katsina State. And over to some other news. The Central Bank of Nigeria has extended the validity of the old 200 naira, 500 naira and 1000 naira notes indefinitely. The Apex Bank's Director of Corporate Communications, Issa Abdulmumin, in a statement on Tuesday says the decision is in line with international best practices and to forestall a repeat of earlier experiences implementing the policy. The CBN had introduced the redesigned 200 naira, 500 naira and 1000 naira denominations in October of 2022, and certain deadlines were set for the old designs of these denominations to cease as legal tenders. The statement reads, in quote, without prejudice, the Central Bank of Nigeria wants the public to know of its desire to extend the legal tender status deadline of the old design of 200 naira, 500 naira and 1000 naira denominations ad infinitum. And the arraignment of the former Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele has been stalled at the Federal Capital Territory High Court following the industrial strike embarked upon by the Judicial Staff Union of Nigeria at the Federal Capital Territory High Court branch. JUSUN had directed its members to join the industrial action by the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress over an assault on the NLC President Joe Alero in Imo on the 1st of November 2023. A visit to the court on Wednesday showed a locked gate and no sign of lawyers trooping in or out of the court premises. Justice Olukayode Adeniyi had last week granted Emefiele bail, and he had ordered that he should be released immediately to the lawyers who are charged with the responsibility of producing him in court for his arraignment on Wednesday. And former Vice President Atiku Abubakar believes the merger of Nigeria's opposition parties will help in forming a stronger front against the ruling All Progressives Congress. Atiku, who was the People's Democratic Party candidate in the 2023 presidential election, said this in Abuja on Tuesday when he hosted the National Executive Committee of the Inter-Party Advisory Council. Atiku emphasized the importance of protecting Nigeria's democracy while expressing concerns over falling into one-party system. The PDP presidential candidate in the 2023 elections thereafter urged members of the IPAC to rally opposition parties to form a stronger front against his threat. The IPAC team was led to the visit by its national president, Yabagi Sani. And a fire incident on Tuesday destroyed parts of the popular Hamzent building in Park Road, Sabongari, Zaria, Kaduna State. And Hamzent building sits at the commercial nerve center of Sabongari in Zaria. And though the cause of the fire outbreak has still not been established, but an eyewitness attributed the cause to electricity surge in one of the apartment buildings. The National Fire Service, located some few meters away from the scene, failed to offer emergency services. And Trust TV gathered that there were almost 20 apartments occupied by different tenants who were mostly businessmen and civil servants. And the bail previously granted to Geoffrey Akindele, one of the defendants in the trial involving former Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, has been revoked. Akindele is being tried alongside the ex-AGF for fraudulent diversion of public funds amounting to 109.5 million naira. And other defendants are Idris Mohammed, Kudu Usman, and Gezawa Commodity Market and Exchange Limited. And when the case was called on Tuesday, Justice Yusuf Halilu of the Federal Capital Territory High Court observed that only Idris and Usman were in the court. Akindele's counsel, Adino, also told the court that his client was en route to court and had consistently attended previous hearings. The judge said it was incumbent as a defendant on bail to reciprocate the gesture by always attending court, and the judge thereafter revoked the bail and ordered the Commissioner of Police in the FCT and the prosecuting agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, to arrest Akindele and produce him in court on the next adjourned date. Halilu adjourned the matter to the 1st of February 2024 for the hearing of the case. And you're still watching News Update on Trust TV. Still to come. More victims speak out over false accusation and jungle justice. More news when we return. Please stay tuned.
It was never a consensus. We did all our best. You see, in politics, you give your contribution to the best of your ability.
If you want, I'll forward to you this statement. You go to this bank and verify.
But there are people who say not spending money is not a virtue in itself.
Let me finish.
Because there's so much to be done.
Let me finish. Now, you don't allow me to explain myself.
The recent development shows abductions are now a factor of informants embedded in community.
It's not about the people of Katsina to say that, no, during my administration I was able to stop insecurity. No. It's about collective responsibility for all of us.
And what we should ask ourselves is not what has been seen, is the life better? Are there more people who are unemployed who have not become employed? Is the level of corruption has gone down? Is there inclusion? All those issues.
We're actually a gas country with associated oil. Our focus has always been on oil, that we have never paid attention, significant attention to gas.
To do it effectively, we need to have honest conversation with ourselves. Government needs to come down from its high horse and communicate with the people and build trust.
There must be a solution. We cannot continue this way. They must come back to the table and agree. So whose child will do deny education? All these children that sit for jam, they want to go to higher institutions.
But just a short while ago you were saying that why bring 10 children when you cannot cater for them? So why bring more universities when you cannot cater for the existing?
Welcome back, and this is still the news update on Trust TV, and here is a recap of our major stories. Nationwide strike enters day 2 with partial compliance, and CBN extends old Naira note as legal tender indefinitely. And moving now to other stories, a task force designed to facilitate issuance of certificate of occupancy for mass housing has been inaugurated by the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Minister Nyesom Wike. The task force has been mandated to recover land use contravention fees in the nation's capital as the minister restates the commitment of the administration to restore and improve the Abuja Master Plan. Habibat Ajayi has more.
The revival and restoration of Abuja Master Plan under FCT Minister Nyesom Wike has another step in course, correcting gaps in the system. The newly formed task force will target restructuring and implementing the master plan focusing on compliance.
Lands, the Director of Mass Housing, Development, AGs, Urban and Data, all of you are members of the task force, is to make sure that all the mass housing, each of the houses has its own CFO, and they have to pay for it. And then those who have contravened, those that were given approval for residential have converted it to commercial. Those who have been given for commercial have contravened by building residential. So there must be a recertification, so there must be penalties. And the only way people will be deterred from doing this is to make sure that we discourage them. And discouraging them means that if you want to do it, you have a penalty to pay.
Michael Chinda, the chairman of the task force committee, highlights the commitment of the new team to deliver on the objectives of the task force.
For those who discussed master plan, it's not the proper thing to do, because a city that is not planned is you have a discriminate development. Therefore, we will not spare anyone that has contravened, and we will do the needful.
A 1 month time frame has been set for the committee to complete the assigned tasks. Habibat Ajayi, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And last week, we brought to you on Trust TV a story from Makadi, Benue State, where a victim of jungle justice survived a false accusation of genital theft. The phenomenon has been spreading like wildfire across Nigeria. Citizens become suspicious of strangers they meet in public over the fear of losing their private parts. Trust TV's Jimmy Adzande spoke to the survivor of the recent mob justice in Benue State.
The brutally traumatic experience almost cost Emmanuel Ayeme his life. A false accusation led to mob action with Emmanuel at the receiving end of violent attacks. It took the intervention of the security agencies to prevent a fatal outcome.
They asked me to look at one of them who was in their group, whether I have seen him before. After a close examination on the face, I recollected that I saw him about an hour ago, close to the entrance of Zenith Bank. And they said to me that in the course of talking with him, he lost his manhood. And then I reiterated quickly that how did it happen? How? Of which they could not give me a plausible explanation. But all what they could tell me was that I should restore his manhood.
The phenomenon of genital theft or disappearance continues to leave behind victims of false allegations as jungle justice takes center stage.
On that day, I knew that people who died, of course, they died innocently. Because if not because of God's intervention, my life would have been lost now. But I appreciate and I thank God so much. God saved my life. I hold this in mind, that it's good to educate the public. The general public is ignorant of what transpired in society. Because there is this trend that is going on, where innocent people are being accused for nothing.
The phenomenon of genital theft or disappearance continues to leave behind victims of false allegations as jungle justice takes center stage. In an effort to correct the perversion of justice, the police, after confirming the accusations against Emmanuel to be false, have arraigned the accuser in court, who is currently in detention to deter others from making false allegations.
We should intensify efforts to educate them against this jungle justice. It's not right where somebody is accused and you join forces on the other party against the person that is being accused. It's not proper. It's not right at all. The best is to try to investigate and find out. Because in most cases, it's not the person that has been accused that actually commits the crime.
For Emmanuel Ayeme, he lives to tell his story, and that is all that matters for now. Jimmy Azandi, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
And the president of the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping, has arrived in San Francisco to attend a summit with President Joe Biden. The summit is also the 30th Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Economic Leaders Meeting that started on November the 14th and will run till November the 17th. And in a statement on Wednesday, the Chinese ambassador to the U.S., Xi Feng, had also said that Xi arrived on Tuesday afternoon local time. And the statement said that Xi Jinping was warmly greeted by many overseas Chinese, including Chinese students studying abroad, who waved both Chinese and American flags along routes from the airport to welcome the Chinese president. And now to sports news. 7 Super Falcons players, including goalkeeper Chiamaka Nnadozie, were listed for the 2023 Women's Player of the Year awards by the Confederation of African Football, CAF. Nnadozie, who plays for Paris FC, and thrilled football fans globally with her performance at the FIFA Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand, was nominated by both the Player of the Year award and Goalkeeper of the Year award categories, and also listed for the Player of the Year award as Super Falcons and Barcelona feminine striker Azizat Oshola, Christy Ucheibe, Osinachi Ohale, Rashidat Ajibade, Tony Payne, and Uchenna Kalu. CAF stated that a distinguished panel made up of its technical experts, legends, and selected media representatives decided on the nominees, taking into consideration their performances of all levels from December 2022 to November 2023. And Liverpool striker Luis Diaz had a tearful reunion with his father, who was freed last week after a 12-day kidnapping ordeal. And Diaz was back home in Colombia to join the national team ahead of a World Cup qualifying match against Brazil on Thursday in the seaport city of Barranquilla, where the meeting with his dad, Luis Manuel Diaz, was arranged. The pair embraced in tears, according to images distributed by the Colombian Football Federation, where Luis Manuel Diaz and his wife Clenis Maradlanda were abducted by the armed men on motorcycles at a gas station in their hometown of Barrancas near the Venezuelan border on October the 28th. And Marulanda was rescued hours later, and a massive search operation by ground and air was launched for her husband. Last Thursday, we saw that after days of intense negotiation, the rebels handed Diaz over to humanitarian workers in a mountainous border area. And with that, we've come to the end of News Updates on Trust TV. Do well to follow us across all our media platforms and join our YouTube live stream for more news, programs, and documentaries. My name is Chiamaka Nnendu. Thank you for watching.